So there's this really famous Islamic prophecy, right? And today, we're going to look at it, but probably not in the way you're thinking. We're not here to predict the future. Instead, we're going to use it as a key to unlock something profound about the world we're living in right now, a massive shift in how we see everything that's been happening right under our noses.
For centuries, this prophecy has been a total mystery. It's attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, and it describes something that sounds completely impossible. The sun literally reversing its course. I mean, think about it. It feels so distant, so mythological, like something we're just supposed to wait for at the very end of time. But what if we've been reading the map all wrong? What if that simple question changes everything? What if this prophecy isn't about astronomy at all, but about psychology, a kind of symbolic map of the human mind? Well, to even begin to read that map, we first have to understand the very lens through which we see the world. The thing is, none of us really see reality as it is. It's more like we're all looking through a lens that's been shaped and colored by forces we barely even notice. And understanding that lens, that is the very first step to cracking this code. And this idea, it's ancient. The Quran talks about this kind of collapse of perception. It describes people who have eyes but don't truly see, hearts but don't truly understand. It's like all the hardware is there, but the capacity to really get it is just gone. It's like our consciousness is asleep at the wheel.
So, how does this actually happen, right? Well, we're all products of our environment. Our families, our schools, the media we're plugged into 24/7. And these things don't just give us information, they actually form our worldview, creating this kind of collective consciousness. And over time, that collective consciousness has started to be dominated by one very specific way of thinking.
A really cool way to think about this is like the two hemispheres of our brain. You've got the right hemisphere, let's call it the east. This is the part that sees the world in symbols, metaphors, and big picture insights. It's all about awe and revelation. And then you have the left hemisphere, the west, which is all about logic, rules, systems, and data. Now, both are absolutely essential, but what happens when one completely takes over the other? And here's where it gets really interesting. When you start looking at history through this lens, you see this incredible pattern just popping up again and again. It seems like civilizations rise with this balanced, integrated worldview. But then slowly, almost silently, they shift. They drift towards a purely logical, systematic way of seeing things, and they often don't even realize what they've lost in the process. Across history, we can spot at least 5 major civilizational shifts that show this exact pattern. Think of them like clues in a detective story. In every single case, a rich, symbolic, holistic understanding of the world kind of collapses into something much narrower, much more mechanical. Let's start with ancient Egypt. Their entire civilization was built around this concept of ma'at, which is this beautiful idea of cosmic balance, truth, and harmony. Everything they did, their art, their rituals, their incredible architecture, it was all designed to align the human world with the divine. But over centuries, that deep spiritual connection just faded away. The rituals were still there, the temples were still standing, a perfect system on the outside, but the vision, the why behind it all, it was gone. All it was left was the how. Okay, next up, Babylon. At first, their study of the stars was all about awe and wonder. They were driven by this deep, humble curiosity to understand the cosmos, and they mapped the heavens with amazing skill. But then, knowledge started becoming a tool for power, for control. And suddenly, they were measuring the sky with incredible precision, but they'd completely lost that sense of awe that made them look up in the first place. The left brain was doing all the measuring, but the right brain had been totally silenced. Then you have ancient Greece. We see this really clear shift from what they called mythos, these rich, symbolic stories full of meaning about what it means to be human, to logos, which is all about pure, logical argument, breaking reality down into tiny, manageable pieces. And as that happened, philosophy itself kind of changed. It went from being this love of wisdom to being more about, winning arguments. The need to deconstruct and analyze everything just took over, pushing aside that holistic, symbolic way of seeing. And believe it or not, even the Islamic Golden Age, which was so brilliant precisely because it integrated faith and science, wasn't immune to this. Its early genius came from holding the spiritual and the rational together in this incredible creative tension. But over time, as certain schools of thought started focusing more on pure rational abstraction,
that beautiful balance started to tip. Revelation risked becoming just a text about laws. Prayer risked becoming just mechanical movements. See the pattern? The inner meaning fades and only the outer shell is left.
And that, of course, brings us to our own time, the modern era. And we've taken this whole thing to a completely new level. Our perception today isn't just dominated by abstract logic. It's dominated by simulation, by copies of reality that are so compelling they start to replace the real thing.
I mean, think about it. In our world of social media, branding, and constant advertising, symbols are totally cut off from their original meaning. Meaning isn't something we discover anymore. It's something that's manufactured for us and then sold to us.
Okay, so now that we've seen this pattern play out over and over again through history, let's go back to that prophecy, because now we can see it in a totally different light.
See, when we're stuck in that left brain logical-only mode, we can only read this prophecy literally. We hear sun and west and immediately think of a star and a compass point. We're totally blind to the deeper symbolic meaning, and we're blind to the possibility that this event is already happening.
Let's break it down symbolically. The sun, it isn't just a star. It's a classic symbol for consciousness, for a guiding light. In fact, the Quran even refers to the prophet as a sirajan, a torch, a lamp. And the West, it's not just a direction on a map. It represents that left hemisphere world of logic, systems, and materialism. So, the sun rising from the West, it's a prophecy that our guiding consciousness, our source of light and truth, would begin to rise from this materialistic left brain worldview. The entire global moral compass is now being set by the West.
But here's the thing. This isn't just some big, abstract idea about history or geopolitics. The final piece of this puzzle, and honestly the most important one, is realizing that this prophecy is deeply, deeply personal.
This whole sun rising from the west thing, it's not some one-off event that's going to happen way off in the future. The hour is a timeless moment. It's a tipping point that happens again and again. In empires, yes, but also inside each and every one of us. Every single time we let our perception of the world collapse into something purely materialistic and disenchanted.
And that's where it all leads. The prophecy isn't a prediction to be waited for. It's a question for you, right now. That shift from east to west, from the right brain to the left, it happens inside us every single day. We can let the awe and the mystery of life get replaced by systems and data. So the real question the prophecy is asking is this: where is your sun rising from? Is your guiding light coming from a place of holistic wonder and meaning, or from a world of pure logic and manufactured ideas? Because that choice, the choice of where we turn for light, is always ours.